all the days for the worst snowstorm of the year to hit, this was the worst. Typical Highway 401. One little thing goes wrong and the entire highway turns into a goddamn parking lot. I had places to be. I'm a busy man with a lot on his plate. The meeting was due to start in an hour, and I was already running late for work, and the traffic just wasn't moving. This was ridiculous. I texted Steve to let him know I might be running late, although I had no idea if it got through or not. Cell service was pretty spotty. The blizzard raged around my Audi sedan, leaving the vehicle in front of me damn near invisible, save for a faint pair of red brake lights that hadn't moved in 15 minutes. Over the past 2 hours, I doubted I even made it a kilometer down the road. This was ridiculous. I could see a road sign indicating there was an exit coming up. Maybe it wouldn't be too far off. Dare I chance it? I stared at the fading brake lights in front of me again, drumming my fingers on the steering wheel thoughtfully. Yes, I dared. I gently eased my car over onto the shoulder and made to go around traffic. The exit wouldn't be far, and if I was lucky, it wouldn't be crowded. This stretch of highway was pretty rural, so this exit probably led to some back road. Sure, it wouldn't be the safest road to drive in whiteout conditions like this, but I had places to fucking be. As I rode past the traffic, I had a few assholes honk at me, but I didn't waste my time on them. I just got closer and closer to the off-ramp, which, as far as I could tell, was empty. Finally, a goddamn win. I vaguely recognized this road, and figured that if I followed it far enough, I could probably make it to Highway 5. A less busy highway that would bring me closer to Toronto without the goddamn traffic. I turned onto the back road and started driving again. I couldn't see jack shit in front of me, but I took it slow. I'm a great driver. I knew what I was doing. There weren't any other cars around, so I was more or less home free. It was nice for a change. After about 15 minutes, I already felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Getting off the highway didn't solve all my problems, though. The storm just seemed to be getting worse. It was impossible to tell where the road was, and most of the signs were so plastered in snow that I couldn't even read them. They really just served as markers to tell me where the road was. Up ahead, I was pretty sure I could see an intersection, and I did recognize one of the road signs as a stop sign, so I made myself slow the car down to a stop. The car slowed, but not by much. And as the stop sign got closer, I pressed down harder on the brakes, only for the car to keep skidding. Shit. I swore as my car went right out into the middle of the intersection, and felt a momentary stab of panic. I tried to swerve so I could slow down, but that didn't solve anything. I tried hitting the gas so I could get across the street as fast as possible. That didn't help either. The car fishtailed, spinning violently, and when I hit the gas, it jolted forward. I felt the entire car shake as I left the road, and drove straight into a goddamn ditch. Fucking wonderful. As soon as the car stopped, I screamed and pounded on the wheel. Fuck! The horn blared, but I didn't give two shits about that. What the fuck was I supposed to do now? I checked my cell phone. No bars. No way out. Fucking perfect. You should really have an emergency kit in your car, Ted. My nagging wife's voice whispered in my ear. What if you get stuck in a snowstorm? Yeah, she couldn't put out, but she could give me useless advice like that. At the time, I asked myself, who the fuck gets stuck in a snowstorm these days? Oh, I'll bet she'd be laughing at this shit. I just needed to sit tight and wait this out. This was a back road off the highway, not the middle of fucking nowhere. Someone would find me soon enough. They'd see my car and call a tow or something. I just needed to stay put. So I sat for a few minutes, watching the snow cake itself onto my windows and bury my car. Yeah, nobody was going to see me from the road. This weather was ridiculous. Sitting tight wasn't going to accomplish shit. I put on my gloves, bundled up my coat, and threw the door open. The snow around me was almost knee-deep, and it was a struggle to get up the incline I'd come down. But I fucking made it. And when I looked back at my car, mostly buried in the snow, I saw that the situation was worse than I'd feared. My brake lights weren't even visible. The snow had obscured them completely. There was just a faint Audi-shaped outline in the snow. Oh, this wasn't going to work. I looked around, hoping to see some oncoming headlights. These back roads were never busy, but they were never abandoned either. Someone would be along shortly. They had to be. The cold cut right through my jacket and left my skin feeling raw. I would have killed for a hot coffee right then and there. I almost considered going back to the car to turn the heat up, although who the hell could say how much good it would do me? No headlights. Nobody coming. What was this bullshit? As I stood on the side of the road like an asshole, arms wrapped around myself, I couldn't help but look around. Through the snow, I was pretty sure I could see a sign on the other side of the road. And if I squinted, I could just make out the words. St. Thomas Cemetery. Yeah, comforting. Stuck in a blizzard across the street from a cemetery. Great. Although, the longer I stared at that sign, the more I got to thinking that maybe this wasn't such a bad idea. There was probably someone there. A groundskeeper or something. There had to be. Maybe they had a phone I could use to call a tow. At least they probably had some shelter to get out of this fucking storm. I went back to the car to grab my shit, before trudging up the snowy incline and making my way back across the street. I walked along the fence for a bit, looking for the gate leading inside. Peeking in occasionally, I caught sight of someone walking through the snow, past the headstones. That was a good sign, right? Someone was in there. It didn't take me long to make it to the gate, but when I did, my fingers were fucking numb. I walked down the snowy road leading into the cemetery, my arms wrapped around my body to keep in the little heat that I had left. I didn't see any buildings yet, partially on account of the snow, but there had to be something nearby. Someone was definitely there. I just had to keep following the road. Slowly, I trudged forward, feeling ice crystals forming on my face like little daggers. I hadn't been this cold in years. My jacket did nothing against the wind. Looking around, I thought I spotted a figure walking amongst the snow-covered tombstones, and I paused for a moment before calling out to them. Hey! Hey! Hello? The figure looked over at me, remaining dead silent. Hey, my car went off the road. You got a phone? I called, before stepping off the asphalt and into the snowy grass. The figure still didn't respond, and disappeared deeper into the snow. Hey! Hey! I'm talking to you! Still no answer. The figure was just about gone, but I followed them anyways. The snow was pretty deep. It was hard to see some of the smaller tombstones. I felt my shoe slip against one when I stepped on it, and struggled to keep my balance. No luck. I went right down into the snow, and gripped one of the obelisk headstones for support. Great. Now my nice pants were soaked with snow. Perfect. Just what I needed. Shit. I picked myself up again, and as I did, my eyes briefly darted over the name on the headstone I'd grabbed. The moment I saw it, my heart skipped a beat in my chest. Mary Gray, 1993 to 2018. Beloved daughter and mother, Mary Gray. It couldn't be. I knew that name. Oh boy, did I know that fucking name. My wife and I hadn't really gotten along over the past few years. I do my thing and she does hers. We stay together for the kids. She likes to talk about counseling or try to suggest fun little dates and shit, but I'm just not interested. I get my water from another well, as it were. A few different wells, actually. Mary Gray had been one such well. My wife had hired her to clean the house, because she wanted one of those houses that looked like something out of a goddamn catalog. Couldn't be bothered to get off her lazy ass to do it herself. I'd seen her a few times while I'd been home, and she was cute enough, I guess. Long, dark hair with some volume to it, pale, gray eyes, and a sort of dumb, doe-eyed expression. She was a good-looking girl who was doing the whole maid thing to pay for college. All in all, probably not a bad idea. I got the feeling she only ever kissed up to me, so I'd give her a tip. And yeah, I certainly gave her a tip. And then some. She was easy enough to butter up, and it was technically her job to make the bed once we were done fooling around, so that was kind of nice. We had some fun times. And then my wife found someone less expensive and hired her instead. The new maid was an older, gruff-looking lady, so it really was a downgrade. I don't think my wife ever figured out what I was doing, and once Mary was gone, I was happy to leave it all in the past and dismiss the whole thing as some dumb fling. But, unfortunately, sometimes the past doesn't stay in the past. Mary had reached out to me around January of 2018, asking to meet up. I figured she was just feeling nostalgic, wanted to fool around, so I told her I was game. We met up at a coffee shop, and I was expecting to find a hot 25-year-old looking for a wild night. Instead, I got a woman who looked like she'd had a rough couple years, with a 2-year-old hanging off her side. Mary didn't look quite as hot as she used to. Her body wasn't as tight as it had been. She'd put on a couple pounds, and they didn't flatter her. Then, of course, there was the goddamn kid. Willow, she'd named her. Christ. The moment I saw her, I knew what was up. I just needed to look into that kid's baby blue eyes to know she was mine. Surprise, surprise. Mary wanted money. I told her to take a hike. It wasn't my fault she got herself knocked up. And I said she had no proof the kid was even mine. I mean, let's be honest. I don't know how many guys she'd been with aside from me. Of course, she wasn't too happy about that answer. We got into a bit of an argument, and she'd made some threats. Now, like I said before, my wife and I weren't on great terms. But if she found out about little Willow, our situation would probably get a hell of a lot worse. The last thing I needed was to go through a divorce. She'd probably take most of my shit. And the kids. I'd be left with just about nothing. Paying child support to not one, but 2 women. No fucking thank you. If Mary talked, she'd ruin me. She'd ruin my life. And hell, she could easily ruin my career, too. I had a friend who'd lost his job after his little affair had gotten out. I didn't really like the idea of suffering the same fate as him. So, I decided I needed to handle this situation discreetly. I told Mary that I'd get her the money, and agreed to meet up with her at her place the next day. She gave me her address, and I went home like nothing was wrong. The next day, when I went off to work, I slipped a hammer from the garage into my briefcase. That evening, I told my wife I'd be working late, went over to Mary's house, and brought the hammer with me. She screamed a little when I bashed her brains in, but nobody seemed to notice. Then, when I was sure she was dead, I rolled her up in a carpet, grabbed her car keys, and put the bitch in the trunk. After that, I went back inside, woke up little Willow, and told her we were going for a ride. I said it was a picnic. She was more than happy to go right along with me. I drove Mary's car out to one of the back roads. Then I left Willow in the car while I took her mother out of the trunk and brought her into the woods. It was a pretty snowy day that day. Not whiteout bad, but not exactly great either. I knew there was a river nearby, so I brought Mary there and tossed her down onto the ice. Then I went back and found Willow. I told her that her mommy was waiting for her down by the river, and I held her little hand as we followed my footprints back to where I'd left Mary. The plan had been to use the hammer to finish the brat off right there. But, well, I couldn't do it. Mary wasn't easy to kill either, but I couldn't do it to Willow. So, instead, I told her to stay near her mommy, and that I'd be right back. Then I drove back to Mary's house, parked her car in the driveway, locked up her house, threw the keys into a snowbank, and drove away. They found what was left of Mary's body about 3 months later, after the river washed her away. From what I heard, the animals had gotten to her, and they had needed to identify her via dental records. They never actually found Willow, but they did find a single boot not too far away from where they found Mary's body. Nobody ever came knocking on my door. Nobody made the connection. My wife didn't even recognize her when they showed her face on the news. I made about as clean a getaway as I could. And now, there I was, right on top of her gravestone. Funny how these things work out, isn't it? I looked around at the storm all around me. It seemed just as heavy as before. I didn't see any sign of the figure from before nearby, although my heart was racing in the worst kind of way. Maybe it was just stumbling across Mary's grave that spooked me, but something felt wrong here. My instincts demanded that I go back to the car, but I didn't know if that was the right call or not. "Hello?" I called out again, my voice drowned by the wind. There was no response, although I swear that I saw movement behind the flurries. No, fuck this. I was going back to the car. I turned and headed back towards the road I'd been on before, only to see the figure in the snow staring back at me. My body froze as I locked eyes with them. They were closer than they were before, and now I could see the dark hair flying around their face. Through the hair, I could see blood running down their pale skin, and the slight indent in her skull where I'd hit her. No. Oh no. It couldn't be. I had to be crazy. I had to be. But no. Mary Gray stood right there, staring at me from her one good eye. She stared at me, and all I could do was stare back in horror. This couldn't be possible. And yet it was. I saw her take one slow step toward me, and I ran. The snow tripped me up as I fled from her. Looking back, I could see the blizzard swallowing her up again. I didn't stop running. Not until I saw the cemetery's iron fence in front of me. I gripped the bars, my heart still racing as I looked around. Maybe I could follow these back to the entrance. Yeah, then I could get back to my car and see if I couldn't find a way out of this fucking mess. At least I could lock myself inside, where I'd be safe. So that's what I did. I followed the fence, constantly looking back and waiting for the shape of Mary Gray to find me again. For a while, I didn't see any sign of her. Then, at last, I saw it. A specter shuffling through the snow, heading towards me at a steady, knowing pace. She was moving faster than I was. The snow barely even seemed to slow her down. I had to hide. I had to get the fuck away from her. I ducked behind one of the larger headstones, hiding behind it as the snow caked behind me. In the distance, above the wind, I could hear the crunch of footsteps in the snow. She was getting closer. I closed my eyes, waiting. The footsteps drew closer. Closer. Then, silence. I opened my eyes again. I didn't see any trace of Mary. She'd stopped. When the footsteps started again, they seemed to get further and further away, and I felt myself heaving a sigh of relief. It was only then that I saw her. Not Mary. Someone else. She sat against the tombstone adjacent to me, looking at me with her big blue eyes, the way she had done several years ago, when I told her we were going on a picnic. Her skin was pale, almost blue. Her nose was snotty, and she was missing one of her boots. "Mama!" Willow called, and I felt a pang of fear rise in my chest as she raised a little mitten-clad hand and pointed at me. "Mama!" I heard the footsteps getting closer again, faster this time. I bolted out of my hiding spot, running as fast as I could through the snow which blinded me. "Mama!" Willow called one last time, and I dared to look back, only to see Mary gaining on me. "No," I cried, but the words wouldn't come out fast enough. I felt Mary's cold arms wrap around me, pulling me close. Her hair blew from her face, and I looked into her dead, glassy eyes. "No!" My voice was little more than a panicked sob, as Mary brought me down to the ground. "Wait! Don't! Wait!" The snow seemed to give way beneath me, swallowing Mary and I whole. Her grip on me grew tighter as I struggled to break free, but she wouldn't let me go. The last thing I remember seeing before the snow engulfed me completely was Willow, staring at me as her mother dragged me into her grave. I watched her raise a little hand to wave at me. Then, there was only the cold. Become a channel member today for early access, bonus videos, and special emojis only available to members. Check out the description below or click the join button for more info. If you'd like another way to help support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon page at patreon.com/Jordan Group Horror. As a patron, you'll get access to bonus videos and content. You'll be credited at the end of every video going forward, and if you decide to stay for 3 months, I'll name a character after you, which will be featured in a Hollow's End story. Links to join the Patreon are in the description. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help the channel continue to grow. And see you again next time at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you have a great night.